Hello friends. What is the function of government? Government only has two functions. Just two. That's it. One, to maintain the peace. To protect our security as human beings. To protect our human rights as human beings. To be peace enforcers. Not law enforcers. Not law enforcement, but peace enforcement. To prevent and stop fights, to prevent and stop violent acts one against another. And two, the only other function of government is to administer the natural resources that God has given us on this earth, principally land, air, and water, and everything related to land, air, and water, natural resources. To administer fairly, protecting human rights and the right to use land, air, and water. That's it. Government does not have any right in the logical world, in the world of God, in the world of freedom, of land and freedom. The government has no right to make laws, religious laws or political laws, that tell us how to live our lives or what we can do and what we can't do in our personal lives. And governments that do that, which are just about every government currently existing on the face of the earth, are committing a horrendous crime against humanity. And we as human beings, as free peoples, even though we may not be physically free, mentally free, we must unite and fight and end these types of criminal actions against us. Government, for example, has no right to use the excuse, and this is a common excuse that the fascist governments use to justify making laws. They say, well, we're going to make a law prohibiting such and such an activity because if we allow you to do that activity, it may provoke violence. This is a false excuse for taking away your human freedom that simply is racist and is discriminatory against our own personal human freedom. But they do it. For example, what if government, and some governments have done this, what if government makes a law saying that Arab women cannot wear, I think it's called the burqa, if I'm not mistaken, that shroud over their head, because it may provoke violence against them for being Muslim or Arab. Well, we would say, hey, that's racist. You can't make a law like that. People should have the right to wear whatever clothing they want to wear. Yet there's governments that may try and do that. But that is obviously a racist act by a fascist criminal government trying to make a law that, but using the excuse that to prevent violence. Or we could say, for example, I personally do not approve of people wearing tattoos or even earrings, because my belief in God is that we should not we should not paint the body that God gave us, because our bodies are part of the natural world given to us by God, invented by God, not by man. And that we should not paint over that or distort our natural body. But we have to be tolerant. I have friends that have tattoos and earrings and so on and so forth, and they're still my friends and they'll always be my friends. But what if the government said, okay, well, we're going to make a law saying that you can't wear tattoos because that might provoke violence against you? Again, we would say, hey, that's absurd. That's against our human freedom, our human right. Well, that's true. But the government does make such laws using false excuses, and they enforce them, and they imprison people for disobeying these fascist, criminal, illogical laws. For example, nudity. Nudity. That's the first one that comes to mind. There's thousands and thousands of laws that the fascist government of the United States has made against us. But that's the one that always comes to my mind first. I don't know why. Nudity. They use that same excuse. Well, no, if we allow people to go naked in public, it will provoke bad people to do bad things like rape, violation, attack, assault. Again, it holds no water. Government has no right to take away your human freedom using it as an excuse that it will provoke violence. Government's job is to resolve violence when it occurs and to sufficiently and adequately punish people involved in violent acts, which is something the government doesn't even do. They make all these laws to prevent violence, supposedly, or for whatever religious or political reason that capriciously occurs to them to make a law to restrict our freedom. But when people do commit a criminal act, a violent criminal act, they do not give them the punishment that even God is in favor of giving them, and that is the complete and total and permanent removal from human society rapidly and quickly, because they are a threat to every human being, someone committing a violent act against another human being. But they don't do that. They build prisons and they use money stolen from us, taxation, which I'm going to speak of in a minute, one of the biggest criminal acts that governments make. They use our money to support people that should not even be allowed to continue to exist in jails forever. This is absurd, again, illogical, and against the true God, the God of nature, logic, science, and love, the true God on the planet Earth. Taxation, because that brings me to the point of taxation. One of the largest crimes committed by almost every government on the face of the earth, but the United States government is one of the most guilty parties of stealing your money. It is the legitimate legal theft of our earnings, of our money. They tax every corner, every aspect of your life is taxed, and people do nothing. Every man, woman, and child in the United States of America should be dedicating every minute, every free moment of their life to fight against this horrid, criminal, mafia act by the fascist federal, state, local governments that commit every single day against us. What logical right does the fascist state have to take your earnings? What logical fascist right does this fascist government have to take money from your purchases, to take money from your inheritance, to take money from something you want to sell, to take money in every possible way that they can think of to steal from you? The United States government is the biggest thief on the face of the earth. But other governments are also thieves. But the United States breaks all records in its horrible theft of the people. And the people are afraid and do nothing. But there's power in numbers. We can stop this criminal act of taxation. No one in the United States of America should pay a single penny to the fascist state forcibly. Voluntarily, do what you want. People will say, but if we don't pay taxes, well, who's going to maintain the highways? Who's going to maintain the libraries? Who's going to maintain the parks? Who's going to pay out welfare? Who's going to maintain the prisons? Who's going to pay the police? Etc., etc. Very simple, people. If you want highways, pay for it. I don't have a car. I would much rather have dirt roads everywhere. To me, that's much better. That would be much, much better for me. I don't want paved highways or anything else. If there's a river, freedom of enterprise, 100% in favor of freedom of enterprise. We can do like they always did, and since the beginning of time, pay somebody in a little boat to take you across the river. We don't need their damn bridges. Now, if you got a car, which probably the majority of people watching this video have, then you pay. It is a criminal act to force me or other people who do not have a vehicle to pay for highways. Oh, well, you use public transportation. I can do without public transportation. Give me the freedom to walk. Or public transportation, there's types of public transportation that doesn't need a paved highway. I'll go on a horse and buggy. I'm serious. That's my right. But you have no right. No government has the right to force me to pay for the rich man's car and pave his highway. But the people that use highways, okay, tax them. And they can do that. If you have a car, pay for the use of the highways. Make them pay for it. Schools. Why force people that have no kids or who no longer have school-age kids to pay for public schools? I'm opposed to schools. I used to be in favor of them, but today the schools are not teaching correctly. They're not teaching correct things to our children, to our youth, so I am highly opposed to schools. But yet I'm forced to have to pay for schools. Let people that are in favor of the schools or that have kids, let them pay for it.